Okay, there we go. Anyway, guys, so I just wanted to give a little small, because you have people out there promoting that the next big thing is the rapture. Now, the rapture, when they talk about the rapture in the days of old, in the old documents, which when I read some of the stuff, going back in the past, I found out that they're talking about, when they're talking about the mid-trib or the pre-trib, they're talking about the 144,000. They're talking about the two prophets, the two lampstands, the two olive trees, if I recall. It's the olive trees? Yeah, olive trees. So anyway, those are the first fruit. What is the first fruit? Those who comes first, right? If we understood biblical, right, things, right? First fruit is the things that comes first, right? Another thing is that I realized there's two tribulations. It's one for the Gentiles and one for the Jews, or Israelites, if you. Of course, we usually just call them Jews, but the 144,000 will be from the 12 tribes of Israel, or Yaakov, from the loins of Yaakov, besides Dan. But anyway, and they will continue, those 144,000 who will walk with Jesus, wherever he is, they will be with him. Anyway, the first fruit, and they will testify, and there will be a bloodbath like never seen before in the world of the Gentile Christians and those who wake up and become the children of God, and they will be butchered and slaughtered like never before, worldwide. Anyway, so after that, the 144,000 continues. They're sealed with the seal of God. And as far as I can see, they're protected. So they continue until the time of the Jews. So we have the end time for the Gentile. And you could call it, in some sense, the church age, as some call it, whatever you. But yeah, there is a time where you have the ending of the Gentile pretty much. It's not like but it's tipping the point, and that happens in seal 6. Now, we can't go beyond seal 6, so that's, because seal 6 clearly has not happened yet in history. So when people are talking about that we're in the trumpets and this and that, they're just absolutely blown, So it just doesn't make, no. And of course the bowls, the last bowls of wrath is like the last bowls of wrath. It's like the last, Anyway, so you have the Gentile tribulation, and there's no rapture. There's butchering, slaughtering, and all that. And we might be getting closer to that. Well, we're getting closer each and every day. But we might be getting closer to that than, But anyway, so after that, we'll see the two prophets, the two lampstands, the two olive trees, the 144,000 Israelites. And they will testify, and there will be a temple at that point, and these are the first 3.5 years in regards to the last 7 years. So you have the 3.5 years, and they will testify, and the temple is there, and then after 3.5 years, there will be slaughtering and, all the things, pretty much they are allowed to do for those 3.5 years. And then after those 3.5 years, they will be stopped and they will be butchered. So, and after 3.5 days, these people will resurrect and rapture to the heavens. You see, the thing is, the rapture, right? They are already, they were dead, So that's the, when you're looking into the Christians of old, when they talk about prophecy, when they talk about the rapture, that is what they are talking about. Well, there's also the rapture when Jesus comes back. And of course, you have the 144,000 coming back with him, of course. That would be because they're always with him, right? You see? Anyway, so the rapture is at the time of the Jews, The time of the Jews is the end of ends, That's the end of ends, So you have the ending of the Gentile, and then it flips over to the Jews. The focus flips from the Gentiles to the Jews. And this is like we're already seeing, moving further and further in regards to the Jews. And that goes upward while it goes downward in regards to the Gentile. And at the seal 6 is the tipping point where the Jews have, more and the Gentiles are, So anyway, and that's ongoing. So after the great tribulation of the Gentiles, that's like the thing is, right? People tend to mix things together and they make a huge mess out of things. By the way, one thing, to study the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation and just listen to those over and over and over and over and over again. And that will make you grow in regards of understanding of what is really going on. And Zondervan 2007 version have a wonderful version of the King James version. Now, I'm not a King James version onlynist and all that, but that is the best version in English in regards of sound. It's what you call it, where it's like. But anyway, the Book of Daniel, and so you can also find it on YouTube. I also have the whole Bible of Zondervan pretty much on my AM audio motion player. So am.JesusGod dividing line pope666.info. You can find it, all the books, if you just want to listen to it and figure out what it is. You also have the 5 books of Moses in regards of Hallelujah scriptures. So anyway, so those are the 2 best versions that I know in regards of things. But yeah, so after the Gentile tribulation, you get to the end time of the Jews, which, begins with those, in regards to when those, when the temple and these 3.5 years begins in regards of thinking, I think it's the 6th trumpet. So in regards to how much time we see from, they're still alive, so they, we can't be talking about long time, right? Well, we can, but we can't talk about, if they're still alive and they're kind of still in regards of how old we get and all that, right? It needs to be kind of, but anyway, so you get from the Gentile tribulation and you go into the trumpets and you go to, you can see in the trumpets that they're still there. They're still protected, they're like, they're told that, the angels of the wind or something like that, God talks about in regards of not hurting those who have been I can't remember totally, but there's something in regards of those that are sealed. So you can see they're still there, And then we get to the 2 prophets, right? Those two prophets of the 144,000 that just have continued. Now those 2 prophets might actually be 2 angels and 2 stars of a congregation of 2 lampstands. Might have been oil lamps. But anyway, we see the 7 lampstands, right, representing what? 7 congregations, and all those 7 congregations have what? A star. What is a star? A messenger that is leading the congregation, or you're a servant to the congregation. I rather actually like that. A servant for the congregation in regards of the Christian congregation. Now, these 2 lampstands are the lampstands of the Jews or the Israelites, the 144,000. So these are not the Gentile, congregations. These are specifically Israelis. So yeah. Anyway, so they will stand and prophesy for, and of course, having 2 stars. Now, in regards to who will that be, in regards to those who could be leading those two lampstands? Well, the Jews are waiting for Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hakilati. So they're waiting for Eliyahu, okay? So which other person do we know from the Bible that is also said? Because Eliyahu is that's talked about in the book of, oh, my brain is having some trouble here, but it's in the Tanakh. We have this nonsense of turning the camera off. The book of Malachi, I think it is, in regards of Eliyahu and all that, and we can see the disciples were also like, well, shouldn't Eliyahu come before and all that, Yeah. Anyway, so the Jews are still expecting Eliyahu in the future, and then we have, as Christians, we have one specific person that we are told to come back. Now, apparently some of the old Christians that wrote about prophecy also talked about another guy, which is also being promoted, but there's nothing in the Bible saying that he would come back, at least in regards of what we have in regards of I don't see anything in regards to that. But there's another person that we would expect to come back. And that's the Apostle Yohanan, in regards of John, because he lives, in regards to the 7 thunders, right? And he was to write it down, but he was told not to write it down, and he was to eat this thing and all that. And, and it was, can't remember in regards to the bitter, it was tasted good or bitter, and I can't remember. Anyway, my brain is a little, Any case, so we, of course, expect, because he is told that you shall again prophesy to many kings and rulers and whatnot and all that, okay? So who do we expect to come back as Christians? Oh, well, in regards to that time at least, Yohanan, John the Apostle. Okay, so we have 2 people, at least according to the Bible, that will, the Jews are expecting Eliyahu, and John wouldn't, the 2 choices of Eliyahu and Yohanan wouldn't be a bad idea, right? You have one from the so-called, before Christ was come in the flesh, and then you have one afterward, that doesn't, and if those 2 guys are coming around, that is not a bad idea, is it? It seems to have pretty good, but of course, some people also believe that Enoch will come by. I don't know where they get that information from, but it's like we already have 2, that we know that the Jews are waiting for one of them, and the Christian pretty much should know that John is going to prophesy again in the future. So, yeah. So my guess would be that they would be the messengers of those 2 congregations of the 144,000. Now, these are the first fruit. Now, again, these first fruit of Christ will be the first that goes from death to everlasting life. Now, there might have been a small amount when Christ and all that. Some tend to believe that there might have been in regards to the 24 elders and all that, which would be still a very small amount of people. But any case, I don't know. I can't really solidify anything. We know there's like these 24 elders in, that are talked about in the book of Revelation. But in regards of what and so forward, that's a little harder to really solidify. But we're told that the 144,000 are the first fruit. And of course, those first fruits are the ones being raptured. When you're seeing people talking about it in the past, in regards of past prophecy, and they talk about the rapture, well, they're talking about this thing. Of course, there's also the rapture when Jesus comes back. It's the taking away, pretty much. So this, like, these 144,000 have been slain, or you can also just say the 2 prophets, if you rather want to go with the 2 prophets, but they're the 2 lampstands. And of course, the lampstand is a congregation. And the olive trees are what? Yeah, Israelites. Yeah, there we go. And you have some interesting things with the trees as well, as far as I can. The fig tree, as I understand it, represent both well, actually represents pretty much Israel in an unbelieving state in some sense. Then you have the olive tree represents believing, Israelites, and then you have the grapes, and the grapes represent both believers and unbelievers of Israelites. And of course, when people, whether they believe or not in regards to the Jews, when the world are slaying Jews, God is angry, becomes angry, and then of course judgment is going to, that's the final straw for judgment against the world in regards to the last 7 bowls and all that. So anyway, so yeah. So I was like talking about, I see. So we have, oh yeah, so yeah, you have 3.5. Yeah, that's the thing, right? In regards to, sorry, my brain is not like, I was like, I don't get too much good sleep in this place and all that. So anyway, so when people are talking about mid-trip or pre-trip, they're actually talking about the same thing. Now, how is that? How is that? And I really apparently have a bomb here, But anyway, whatever. It's just a little. Anyway, so they're actually talking about the same thing. The pre and the mid is the same thing, because it's mid 7 years, but it's pre 3.5 years. So you see, like after these 3.5 years that these people have witnessed, and they're slain, and 3.5 days later, and it's very interestingly enough, I was like, yeah, in regards to these, why 3.5 days? And I was like also listening to some guy, and he was always like, well, why about these 3.5 days? And I was like, why 3.5 days? Well, maybe because those 3.5 days is kind of symbolic for that there's 3.5 years left. Yep. There we go. Yeah. So anyway, so you actually, when you read the book of Revelation, you have to put the pieces together, and even if it goes in a you can have some pretty big gaps here and there sometimes that you need to fill in from other places, and make the puzzle fit. It has to fit, right? You're not allowed to just clip the things and all that. It has to fit together. Anyway, so the pre and the mid that they're talking about, and these bullshitters who talks about this, how they can use the things that they, see, we are the next, this thing is this rapture, that we're taken away and blah 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 blah. No, as far as I can see, the next thing on the horizon is pretty much a worldwide butchering of Gentile Christians. And in regards to the 144,000, it'll be interesting to see when they come around, When the 144,000 comes around, we know for sure that then we are in the seal 6, When the 144,000 Israelites stands up and begin to prophesy and testify and all that against this wicked world and all that, we know. We know exactly where we are. We are then in the 6th seal. Now, in regards to where we are, there's, in regards to the book of Revelation, now, of course, there's also like 2 stories pretty much. Both of them pretty much, well, with further details, but pretty much the 2 stories we have in regards of ending with thunders and earthquakes and hail and all that. And you can pretty much find those 2 places in the 2 stories. The one story, the ending is just before the woman, which is Israel and all that. That's a woman that actually has a husband who bear the child and all that, compared to the Gentile woman who didn't have a husband or doesn't have a husband and don't have any didn't bear any child, yet have more children than the one who has a husband and actually had a child, in regards of Christ. So that's also in regards of prophecy, in regards of Yeshayahu, after chapter 47. So that would be Isaiah 48. You get a little, again, these chapters, divisions and all that was inserted. So that's kind of So, but if you continue to read in regards of Yeshayahu 47, I think it is, and then go into 48, or is it 53? In regards of the prophecy about Jesus or Yeshua dying, God dying, and all that, and then you have the woman prophecy afterwards. Oh, actually, the two women, and that the woman who was barren has more children than the one who actually had a, Anyway, that was, of course, the one woman is, of course, in regards of Israel. The other woman would be the Gentiles. And in regards of us dogs, and we eat what the Jews threw to the floor. They threw the bread to the, what do you call it? They broke the bread and threw it to the floor, and then they poured out the wine on the floor. Didn't find any value in it. And now the dogs, us Gentiles, are now licking up, the dogs of that woman, the Gentile woman. We are now licking up what the Jews threw to the floor. Anyway, so in the book of Revelation, you have when this woman is, and the dragon and all that. That's pretty much the new, where it's like kind of begins with a new story in some sense that helps you to get further details. And both stories ends with thunders and earthquakes and all that, with a little detail in regards of this and that. But if you read it, you can see, it doesn't match. It's not it's the same thing in the book of Genesis. We have first one story and then we have another story, and then you can fit further puzzle pieces and all that. It's a way that pretty much is how it's done, yeah. Anyway. So we have the 7 congregations, of course, and that is what is taught to be in regards of now, and then what is to come afterwards, right? And then begins the first story in regards to the 7 seals, 7 trumpets, and of course the 7 thunders and the 6th trumpet and all that, which we still don't have any information on because John was told not to write it down, but he's apparently going to be there at the end, testifying against the world. On it anyway. So yeah. There's pretty much 2 points where I can see we are in the book of Revelation. There's two choices pretty much, but I'm not totally, there's either or. Some people say that these churches that was there at that specific point also could be like church ages. Now, in regards to the last church, in regards of Laodicea, could really fit that description pretty good because everybody has buildings, right? In the West, at least. There's a lot of buildings around, but they are so poor, right? They don't have any eyes to see where there's buildings everywhere. There's no clue in regards to who the Antichrist is anymore. Even if Denmark is said to be a so-called Protestant nation, very, very few know anything in regards of it. Whereas we have a church over there, we have a church down there, we have lots of church buildings around, but no gold. They have collected to their buildings and they have everything in regards to that and all that, but they don't have real gold. And I'm not talking about real, I'm talking about, I'm not talking about physical gold, okay? So. But yeah, but they're very, it's just, there's so much poorness of, or what do you call it when it's like poor? There must be a better synonym for it. There's no gold coins, pretty much. There's no oil to make the eyes see. People hate the truth if you tell them anything in regards to. Anyway, so getting back to it. And sadly, I made like a 3-hour video actually on these things. And I was like, when I was done, I was like, oh, that was actually good. I kept to the subject and I reached like, there was a good amount of, and it was pretty good flow. And then I found out that the microphone just didn't work. But anyway, my brain is kind of a little more hit in some sense these last couple of days. I don't get sleep much, and these, it's a terrible place to live in, this place. Anyway, it could always be worse, and of course, usually it tend to get worse as well. Anyway, so you have post or mid rapture is actually, and it's not even about the first tribulation. It's about the Jewish, the time of the Jews. I think it's the same thing that they call the trouble of Yaakov or Jacob, because that seems to be some information about that, which is still a future. So again, you see the division about the tribulation of the Gentiles, and then it moves for the end time in regards of Israel. So of course we know there will be a temple. Now people say that, oh, we don't know if there will be a temple. Oh, give me a break, there will be a temple, okay? There will actually be two temples. One of them will be the one that is coming now, and then the next will be the one that that Yeshua or Yeshua will make in regards to the 1,000-year reign. So that's at least two. People is like, oh, we don't know. Yeah, we know. And if you don't know, I know at least. Because we see sacrifices, we see the temple in regards to the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation. Those are very good books to read and understand, because there's so much bullshit out there. And you just go to the pure water. Now, of course, in regards of different translations and blah, 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 blah. But, it's when you listen to people, you go through a filter, And that might be, sometimes it's good, but sometimes it's also bad, where you have to be careful. So just go to the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation and listen to them in audio format and just re-listen and grow. You might not understand much in the beginning, but little by little the pieces begins to fit, and the more pieces you solidify, then it's easier for the rest of them to begin to fit. It does take some time for sure, and it's an ongoing process for sure. There's still a lot of things that I'm but anyway, we use what we have, right? What we have been given, we are to use. Anyway, so I found out in regards to readings, these older sources of proclaimed Christians in regards to prophecy, and I'm not going to, they can be either, fake Christians or true Christians. It's really only God that knows in regards of because you can have fake Christians that look very, 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 very true and all that. What do you call it? But anyway, and they might also have truth. The devil uses truth to attack truth. It's an interesting concept, but that's how it is. Very refined deceptions that the devil has, and he has a lot of ways to do it. Anyway, so I found out in regards to when people are using these older Christians in the past in regards to prophecy, I found out that the rapture they're talking about is the rapture of the 144,000, or 3.5 years later in regards to when Jesus comes back. It's not talking about in regards of being raptured before the Gentile tribulation, and the Gentile tribulation will be a huge bloodbath. This is a bloodbath without unnumbered people that will be butchered at this time, or we might actually be getting pretty close to it. And I think we might actually be a lot closer than yeah. So anyway, we'll see. But we like counting to Shavuot, right? And then the trumpets. That's also a thing, right? You have the Passover lamb, then you have the first fruit after the Sabbath, then we count to 50 in regards of Shavuot. And then we have Shavuot, and then a small break in regards of the summer. And then the trumpet comes around, the festival of trumpet. And you see the whole, because we don't keep the festival of God and the festivals of truth. We're keeping a lot of, many of us have grown up with the festivals of the Antichrist. Mary, Christ, Mass. That's a festival of the high pagan, satanic high priest, He's shown on the television live from the Vatican. All roads leads to Rome, and there's a lot of lies in Latin. A mystery, Babylon the Great. Father, Mother, and Son. That's the moon, Venus, and the sun. This is the pagan satanic trinity compared to the biblical one, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Now they, again, Roman Catholicism outwardly proclaims a lot of Christian things, clothing itself in Christian clothing. But when you further look into it, this is the masterpiece of the devil. Now, of course, also the whore was there from the beginning conception of Rome, when it was a kingdom, because the woman is sitting on all the Roman 7 heads. And now we have the 8, which is one of the 7. Oh, yeah, so that has been effective for a long, long time. Of course, we know it's Roman because the Roman beast continues until Jesus Christ returns and destroys the office of the papacy with whatever Persian that is in it, including the Jesuits, the false prophet. Anyway, that lays down the whole world in front of the feet of the first beast. Anyway, so here, I was thinking about something. Oh yeah, in regards of some people will also use this thing of the, I was like, my brain here, sorry. Letteth, in regards of will be taken away, right? Until he will be taken away. Well, who is this that will be taken away? In regards of, well, there was, that's the Christians. No, that's not the Christians. You see, in the days of Paulus, Roman Pharisee Pope Paulus I, he was in the time of the 5th head. Now, in regards of John, right, tells us in the book of, that he wrote down from Christ, in regards to there's 5 heads, right? There's 7 heads, 5 have been. Okay. Oh, sorry. So I said something wrong in regards of Paulus. He's in the 6th head, of course. My bad. Yeah, sometimes it's human to make a mistake, right? But you try the best. Try the best that you can do, right? So anyway, you have 5 heads that has been, right? You have 1 that is in regards to the 6. Then you have the 7. So you have the Caesars, then the dukes for a short time, just a short time. Now, of course, Paulus might not have known this at this point because, the book of Revelation, I'm not sure if it actually had been written down at this point. So he might not have known this little detail in regards of it. He might have known the book of Daniel in regards of it. But any case, whatever the case, we have 1 that is, 1 to come for a very short time. So Caesar's time of John, right? The next one, the dukes, the Roman dukes for a short time. The 8, which is one of the 7 on the Roman beast, because we know it's Roman. Now, of course, it has characteristics of what? Well, it walks on bare feet. It has, a leopard body and Babylonian heads, right? So, of course, if you take it from, we know that the Grecian body, of course, in regards of the leopard, we know that the lion heads, I should have taken the bear first. We know the bear feet is in regards of Medo-Persia. And then, of course, the heads, which are lions, heads are Babylon, because we learned that from the book of Daniel. So we know that this, we know the beast is Roman as well, because, we know that the Roman beast continues until, Jesus comes back in regards of the everlasting kingdom from the heavens to earth, and he's going to set it up here on earth, the great Israel, and rule the world from Jerusalem, his capital, and all that. And we will also have the temple that is described in the Tanakh, which seems to be a pretty big place that will be made for these things. But anyway, I saw a video in regards to someone trying to depict the whole thing and all that, at least one. Anyway, of course, the 3rd temple will not be as, splendid as the 4th temple, which Christ will make and all that, or at least engage in regards of getting made when he comes back to, the Israel will become the mountain of mountains. Like what is like a nation above any other nation. The little rock hits the statue, and it becomes a great mountain. A mountain above any other mountain. A nation above any other nation. It will be the great Israel. And I think some of those maps that actually depicts how big Israel actually will be might actually be missing some stuff. They might actually be missing a little more of Saudi Arabia and Turkey. So when you see like from Egypt to Euphrates in regards of Iraq, I think they might actually be missing some of the in regards of Turkey and in regards of Saudi Arabia and all that. Anyway, so I don't think they actually depicted that, but it was that's a big play, but this will be anyway, that's a whole another thing. And why do I think? Well, in regards to Turkey, why Turkey? Well, there was like this told that this people that apparently the scholars never heard about before, so they thought that the Bible just made up fairy stories in regards to this people, and all of a sudden they find a city and a library of this people in Turkey, the Hittites. Yeah, and now you can see movies on the Hittites and whatnot in regards to the Hittites and all that. Lots of information on the Hittites. Now, again, the Hittites, if you actually look into it, kind of had close to whole of Turkey at some point, So if God is going to give the land of the Hittites to Israel at some point, pretty much nearly all of Turkey is kind of done. It's like, anyway. And then, of course, you have Saudi Arabia as well, where the Jews walked and all that. You have all these footsteps all over and all that. And if the Saudi Arabians go look for the footsteps of those Israelis and all that, they will find the line of how much land Israel actually, is given, pretty much. That is legally Israel's, and not theirs. But anyway, but yeah, if they went out to investigate and try to find out where do we actually find these footsteps, they could make a kind of a map in regards to where they could see, because apparently the Israelites had this way of fixing their sandals thing in and throw them all around in regards to Saudi Arabia in the desert and all. I don't know if it was I guess it was maybe a wilderness at that point, a desert. In any case, whatever the case. That's also, they made a huge sandal up at Israel and all that one of the scholars found. That's amazing, so kind of claiming what is theirs in regard. Yeah, anyway. So getting back to it. So the one that is taking, who led it until he's taken away, right? And then the Antichrist would come. Well, again, the book of Revelation gives us more details. So we know 5 has been, and we know it's Roman, because, the Roman system continues. And the book of the statue, you have this the iron, and then you have the iron and clay. And on the beast in the book of Daniel, you have the beast, and you have a little horn, which is the Antichrist, blocking 3 other horns and all that, which has been done. And pretty much the horn, as far as I can see, the second period of Romanism began 600 AD. There you see, pretty much, you see the 2 sides. They're very close to each other. It's like 2 sides of the same wicked coin. The Mohammedans gets one part of the old Roman Empire, pretty much, plus more. And then you have the other side gets the other side of the Roman Empire plus more, pretty much. So, and it's two sides of the same wicked coin. If you actually go look into Mohammedanism and Roman Catholicism, you'll find out that there's a lot of things they have in common. Yeah, anyway, but of course Rome is the head. The Pope is the head of it all, So he's the head on the coin. Anyway, so that's still weird, in regards to the head. In regards to thinking, in regards to the coin standardly, in regards to how they Like when it's like, well, head, they say crown. I guess in Denmark we say plat and crown. But anyway, pretty much, yeah. Well, anyway, but in English you say, you say head and two sides of the same wicked coin. Although Rome is the head, right? You have like kind of the head is the head, right? You don't say crown like in Denmark. Anyway, it's just sort of confusion. But you get the point, right? Anyway, so you have like two sides of the coin. You have the head on one side, and which I guess that's actually also weird, because apparently that would be the opposite. Oh, getting a little confused in regards to the Danish thing, how they actually, because they do say it a little differently. Any case, so you have 5 that has been, 1 that is, he's going to take, he's going to lead until he's taken away. And after he's taken away, the Deuce comes for a short time. And then we have the 8, which is one of the 7, who is the Antichrist. There we go. Ding, 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 ding. The Roman papacy. There we go. Yeah, and by the way, I actually also, said that. The whore, Mystery Babylon the Great, she was there before Jesus came into the, in the Virgin, before that. Because the whore was already, which is Rome, she was already there from the beginning conception of Roman, or what do you call it, the Roman kingdom, which is the first head, because she's sitting on all the 7 heads. She's sitting on the beast. He's sitting on the authority of the Roman beast, and that Roman beast we also know have, that in regards to the papacy, in regards to how it's going to, it's the beast itself have characteristics of besides Roman characteristics, it has, Grecian characteristics, it has Medo-Persian characteristics, it has Babylonian characteristics, because we know like the lion and the bear and the leopard and all that, and we see that in the beast itself, which we also know is Roman. So again, you get further details that you can investigate further. God is kind of giving us a cheat sheet, what do you call it? A cheat sheet. It really shouldn't be called a cheat sheet, because it's kind of just good information. But he kind of have shown us a lot of things to kind of, see the deceptions and what is really going on in the world. So, yeah. So that's one thing where people like trying to promote the rapture and saying, because, this is like the rapture of the Christians when we are taken away. What are you talking about? The Gentile tribulation will be a butchering, an absolutely slaughtering of believers. And you think we're just going to be taken away? Now again, the further problem with that is that the 144,000 Israelites, of course God knows who are of those different tribes, while the Jews might have forgotten and totally made a mess out of it, because they kind of, run this stupid idea that if you are born of a Jewish woman, then you are a Jew, which is absolutely false. If you look into the Bible. Now, apparently it seems like I was listening to some Jews, and that seems to have become apparently said to come around with the false Messiah of 1666 Roman time. There's something, I can't remember what they were called. Seem to suggest that this idea that if you're born by a Jewish woman, that actually you would be a Jew and not from the father, which is absolutely ridiculous. It's not biblical. If you go look in the Bible, you can see it's not the woman that is being counted, it's the man, Just look in the book of Matthew or the book of Luke, or in regards of any of the the books of the Tanakh, It's not the women that are, because again, if a man from the tribe of Judah marries a woman from the tribe of Dan, the children will be of the tribe of Judah. So that's just how, because the tribe goes through the man. That's the usual thing, Anyway, we only have kind of one place where we have an unusual encounter in regards to this. And that is in regards to Mary, that becomes pregnant with Jesus. That's the only kind of where we see, every other place, we have like man, of course, she was from the tribe of Judah herself. And of course, her husband was also from the tribe of Judah. So, anyway, so the Jews have pretty much kind of totally messed that up, because they just flip things absolutely around. If I go out and marry a Jewish woman, well, the children will be physically Danish. They won't be Jewish in regards of. And then we also see some of the rules where we see Jews marrying Gentile women, and they're still Jews. Why are the children still Jews? Well, because the tribe goes through the man. So, yep. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's so this rapture nonsense, and it's interesting that you have a good amount of these people out there that are promoting these things, which actually have some good stuff, and then they kind of capture you, and you can see what subjects are important for them to promote. You begin to be more discerning as you refine. The more you become refined over, by reading the Bible and studying and growing and all that in truth, the better you become at seeing through, if there seems to be something wrong, So you can learn a lot from wolves as well, but you can see sometimes that they tend to jump around, like they promote Jesuitical doctrines, and they tend to jump around in regards to the poop, although you can also have some that actually speaks about the poop being the Antichrist and all that, and then again still mislead. It can be a kind of it's a tedious uphill thing to try to figure out, is this guy actually just making a mistake? Is he just honestly making a mistake, or is he actually ordered to promote this specific thing? Because you can have wolves in sheep clothing that can look like, the best sheep ever, and yet they get an order in regards of a specific thing that they need to promote. So they might actually have a lot of truth, speaking a lot of truth, because they need to kind of look like a sheep. And while they get an order from the high ups, the Jesuits, that you need to be fixing this, you need to be teaching this. So the rest of it might be good, but there might be a specific thing that is promoted, and the idea of course also is to infiltrate, right? Infiltrate the groups, the Christian groups, and then go to the top and then infiltrate it from the inside, and also to control the sheep. There was an interesting quote on that, actually, that the papists had checked in regards to the Protestants and found out that the Protestants were as easily persuaded to go along as the Roman papists, at least in these days. So if they can just insert their own bullshitter inside a congregation, yeah, it's very sad. I can't remember that, where that quote was or where it was and all that. It could have been nice to have it, because people they don't read the Bible anymore. They don't care about the truth anymore. They just go along to get along. And now we have all that ecumenical bullshit going on. And I've kind of also found a lot of data points on that in Denmark and other places. And we see the Pope being Now the poop was just to the, what is it called, this 7 meeting thing and all that. Of course, the whole point is to show that he's kind of, and they're all working for him, and it will only become more and more obvious. But it is like it is usually, right? People will reject it, as it is, while they can reject it. And when it just becomes, straight in your face, you have usually people when they find out, oh yeah, they can't deny it anymore or anything like that. But then it's like, oh yeah, what do that doesn't. So when they actually find out that the poop is actually set as the ruler of the world and actually have a lot of power and actually, yeah. Well, they will. Oh, well, that's okay, right? They will go into this. Oh, then it's just okay, right? Like in the beginning. Oh no, that's not true. He doesn't have any power and blah 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 blah. Right? They will deny it and so forward and all that. Rather, like really really fiercely. And then when it becomes so clear that it's not then they will just. But yeah, well, it doesn't. That's okay. It's like, didn't you just? No. It's like. And we, like, again, the last 4 years we've seen it again and again and again. People are like, no, they would never do that. They would never do that. What are you talking about? They would never do that. And then they do it, right? Oh, well, that's okay, It's like, yeah, that's okay. And it just becomes okay, that's okay, apparently. They wouldn't. It goes from they would never do that, and you're full of bullshit, right? Blah 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 blah. You would never, and then they do it, right? And it's like, oh well, then apparently it's okay, Then it's just okay, It's like, see, but that's okay, that's okay. See, I said, that's okay. It's like, so they go into like a state of no, they would never do that, into a kind of a state of I guess just accepting it, not carrying. Oh yeah, that's okay, Yeah, it's just. So it's a satanic world we live in. Anyway, so I was just listening to this guy, and he was promoting the so-called rapture, and you see different people out there promoting the rapture, and when you actually look, it's just so dishonest, Like, oh, the next big thing is the rapture. We're taking away. And no, we're not taking. We're butchered. We're slaughtered like never before. And oh yeah, the one that is leading, is taken away. First needs to be taken away. Oh, that's the Christian. No, that's not the Christians. That's the Caesars. When the position of the Caesar it's taken away, then the dukes came around. Then after, for a small time, the 7 head, and then the 8, which is one of the 7, the beast itself, is the papacy. Yeah. So you kind of have to have the first position being taken away, then the dukes for a short time. You have to have something, for a short time according to the prophecy in the book of Revelation. Okay. And then afterwards we have the 8, which is one of the 7. Who could that possibly be? Who is the nowadays Caesar today? The papacy. The papacy is the nowadays Caesar, the emperor, the high pagan satanic priest, the Pontifex Maximus, the unholy faker, the great stinking poop, his outmost smelliness, the triune tyrant. He's crowned with 3 crowns. Although the last 2 poops has not been crowned, as far as I know, at least in the visible, but they do have the triple crowns, because God has multiple crowns, so, the devil wants multiple crowns, and thereby also his hand puppet, Yeah. Yep. Just search after papal tiara, and you can find it. And he's crowned as father of princes and kings, I think it is. Yeah, in Latin. Yeah, just look it up if you don't believe it. By all means, look it up. so you know for yourself. Because there's a lot of bullshitters around. Anyway, in regards to prophecy, you have the Gentile tribulation and you have the Israeli tribulation, and then Jesus comes back to end the papacy. So throw him into the lake of fire. Satan will be put in jail for around 1,000 years. He will have his last little whatever you want to call it, and then we have a new earth without oceans, and a new heavens, and Jerusalem, the city coming down from God the Father down to earth on this new creation, and paradise will be restored to its full extent. So, of course, the 1,000 years seems to be kind of where we have people that actually have gone to everlasting life, and you seem to still have people actually dying as well. But it will still be a time of extraordinary things in these 1,000 years. So, yeah. So that was just a little one. In regards to the 70, Daniel 9, right? We can just go through Daniel 9 just so the information is out there. Of course, that's another thing I found out in regards to Daniel 9. In regards to Daniel 9, you have 70 weeks. Those 70 weeks are fulfilled in the past. Then it goes into future events after the 70 weeks, which last year was 33 AD. So 34 AD is outside the 70 weeks. See, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. Yeah. So 34 is the one that is outside. Of course, Christ died 30 AD, as around 30 AD. Which also fits in regards of the Jews recording that was weird things going on 40 years before the temple was destroyed. Well, we know the temple was destroyed when, and the city in regards to the Romans and all that, 70 AD. Now that's also in the prophecy, right? In regards to, so we go from the 70 weeks and it goes into the future. We have the city and the temple being destroyed 70 AD. Okay. And then we have information about a future last week of time, which is still future. That also fits with information, for example, in the last part of Daniel, which is in regards to the end times. You all have all these different numbers: 1260, 1219, and 1335 or something like that. Anyway, 3.5 years, for example, like 1260 days, and all that. 42 months, like in the book of Revelation as well. So here we have some of the things, but we know that these things are for the end times. Why do we know that these are for the end times? Because we're told at least twice that this is about the end times. So maybe it's about the end times when it says that it's about the end times. It shouldn't be that hard, right? Just read the last part of Daniel and all that, and you can see it's about the end time. And if you actually further then look back to Daniel and all that, the last seven years. The problem is that, you have two prevalent groups out there that's battling and don't see that there's actually two different weeks. So one will say the 70 weeks is past, and they will take the future week into the past. And those who see there's a future week of time will take the 70 week in the past into the future. But you kind of, there's just... so they may both make a mistake. They both pretty much have something correct, but they also both have something that is wrong. And none of them want to actually, accept that, hey guys, there's actually two different weeks. yeah. It's an easy mistake to make. It took me some time to sort it out. But anyway, that's the best that I can do with what I have researched and all that and looked into. In regards to the Bible and in regards of older documents, in regards of prophecy and all that, that's as far as I can see it. And I'm doing the best that I can do. But yeah, you have the last 7 years. Now, of course, that you can also, in regards to the book of Revelation, then you figure out that these 7 last years is in regards of primarily for the Jews. And they begin at the time of the 6th trumpet, pretty much. If I recall correctly, that's when the 2 lampstands are prophesying, the 2 prophets, the 2 olive trees, the 144,000 Israelites. And that's when the temple will be standing for 3.5 years. Now, in regards to when the temple is being built, if it's being built at the beginning or just before that, before the 3.5 years and all, or how that works out, I haven't really any data points as far as I know that, but we know that the temple will be standing for these 3.5 years because sacrifices is being done in the temple, oblations and all the things, And of course, how would the Antichrist trick the Jews? To kind of do something that will allow them to do things of the law of Moses, maybe? Yeah, the Antichrist kind of had to trick the Jews, right? Yeah. And then they will kind of get a thing after those 3.5 years. Of course, they will, then we might see the last testing period of the Jews. So, in regards to what direction they're going to go, that this guy was clearly not the Messiah. And we'll see how many that actually, it's incredible, right? Having had these awakened, Jews that are perfect, right? They don't speak a lie. They don't speak any deception. They are pure, right? They are not defiled by any woman. In regards of women, of course, in regards of congregations, for example, right? In regards to defilement of, they don't have false doctrine. They prophesy the truth. They don't compromise on the truth. So yeah. Well, for example, the whore has many children, right? Oh well. I'm really tired. Anyway, I just wanted to point those things out. I know people don't want to hear about it anyway. It's kind of, I want to know all the truth that I can get. But it's kind of a, what do you call it, demoralizing. I'm lacking the words here to see how few actually have that. That apparently most people don't want to hear about it. Anyway, so yeah. Yeah. I think that's all for me, and may Jehovah be with you, and Yeshua, most precious pearl, and the spirit of truth be in us all. Amen. Take care, all of you, and maybe see you another time, well, whatever you want to call it.